G'day everyone, I'm Nick Kirkenmeister from Heartland Wines on Nord Parade, and I'm here today with some local business owners so that we can tell you a little bit about what's happening in your community. The Nord Payneham St Peters Council is full of vibrant businesses, and I think we forget about that because we're in this gorgeous leafy part of the world, but we don't realise just what's going on under the scenes. So today I'm joined by Owen from Beyond Bouldering, right here at Beyond Bouldering. We've got Lauren from Studio Spring and, of course, Joe from Quincy's Confectionery. I'm going to start by asking Owen here in this fantastic space, and trust me, you can only see an echo behind us. This is an enormous space full of fantastic bouldering opportunities, and may I say, more importantly, really good padding to fall back onto. Owen, this is one of three spaces that you've got around the city, but it's incredibly convenient for me and I think a lot of the local community. Why did you set up here? What's the play?
So long story short, we've obviously got three venues. This one here is right next to the city, so it's on the east side. So we've got a lot of traction from the city, but also from Norwood itself. So it's very convenient for people cycling from work. So we have a lot of people come from the city on their bikes. To join us here. So it's really great location, quite central. And we get people down from the hills who can also come down on the weekends. So it's pretty convenient for a lot of people. So
right. Now, for those of you who don't know, we're here on Grenfell Street, not Grenfell Street in the city, Grenfell Street here in Kent Town. So you're walking distance across the parklands to town itself, but right from the very heart of Nord as well. Very easy to get to. But for those who don't know, Owen, can you tell us a little bit about bouldering, what it is and why everyone should be doing it?
Yeah, for sure. So people may have heard, but it's been in the Olympics last year. So that's where it's been quite popular. But bouldering is a very niche sport. So our walls go about 4.5 meters high and you have about 400 mil crash pad underneath you, or big pads. So if you do fall, you've got a nice softer landing. There is a special way to fall to make it a bit easier on your body. But essentially, we've got easy climbs from a really basic beginner level all the way up to advanced. So there's literally a climb for everyone. So it doesn't matter how old you are, ability-wise, there's a perfect amount of climbs to everyone. So
yeah, and I've only been here a little while now, but we've seen every different type of body shape and size, and lots of different types of walls. Is that how I refer to it properly? Is it it's a wall? Is that
yeah,
what
exactly
I'm
right?
climbing?
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of opportunities. However, all of that hard work, you're definitely going to be needing a treat. And what could be more glorious and more enjoyable than something from Quincy's? Joe, you're here with us today. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Nick.
I mean, this is a business that's been a cornerstone of the council for, well, decades, mate. When did you start?
1976 was the first initiation. So was that 46 years, I think, this year?
It is. And for those who don't know, mate, exactly where are you situated?
Henry Street, Stepney. So it's a bit of a tricky one. We're tucked in the side streets. I suppose the best way to get there is, if you know where SportsMed is on Payneham Road, we're the back entrance. So behind SportsMed, next to Little Bang Brewery there. So 31 Henry Street, Stepney.
There's so much tucked in those little back streets that I think no one knows about. And 46 years of business. So for those who don't know, I mean, some people would just assume that you supply only to other businesses because we've all seen your treats, whether they're at weddings or in other people's shops. But can we buy them directly from you?
Certainly can. You're right. We do a lot of manufacturing for others. And you've probably eaten our sweets, Nick, but not realised it's ours because we do a lot of white label. But we've got a little factory door at 31 Henry Street there, and you can welcome to come in 5 days a week, 8:30 to 4:30, and there's lots to try. So we've got these beautiful glass jars. You can dive in and you can try whatever you like before you commit to anything, I suppose. So
now, you manufacture your own goodies, but I think there's another arm to the business, isn't there? Don't you bring in treats from overseas?
Very little, just to complement what we do. So our core business was sugar-coated almonds, and then there's some products that we bring in overseas, like, for example, the gold, the silver sugared almonds that we don't manufacture and too expensive for us to manufacture. So we bring them in just to complement the sugared almond range.
A lot of my mates give me sugar-coated almonds at special occasions. Is there a connection here, a tradition?
Certainly is. So when Dad started in '76, he realised that the market was lacking a good sugar-coated almond, and so he went back to Europe and started, and that's how we started. So tradition is obviously for weddings. 5 sugared almonds for health, wealth, happiness, children, and long life. That's traditional, what it is. And if you go back a bit further, Nick, sugared almonds is traditionally thrown on the bride and groom because they say it's life is both bitter and sweet. So back in the 15th century, I suppose the kernel was bitter and sugar coating. So that's still a bit of tradition there for you.
Now, I see you've brought some treats
I
here
did.
today. What have you got, mate?
I've got our, this is a new box that we've come up with. It's called our sampler pack. And inside we've got 12 delicious goodies that we manufacture, obviously sugar-coated almonds being one of them. But then we've got all
Feel
sorts
free
of
to
things.
share, by the way.
Would you like to try one? There you
Please,
go.
mate. All right.
So in this particular pack, we've got sugar-coated almonds, chocolate-coated hazelnuts, triple choc, scorched almonds, berries, Turkish delight, cranberries. We've even got some healthy stuff like apricots in there as well, chocolate-coated. And I think the one you're chomping on is a orange-coated, jelly-scented milk chocolate.
I should have picked something smaller. I'm chomping into the mic.
No, they're all good. So I just thought I'd bring this in just to show you guys what we do.
I've got to ask, if we pop in to visit you, how much would something like that set us back?
That's $29.99.
That's amazing.
That's great.
That's really caught me off guard because something of that quality and that size from other retailers who we know around the city, you'd be expecting something a little bit more pocket harming than that. So that's really generous, mate.
Yeah. And you get to try 12 of our products.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, Lauren, I'm going to put you on the spot. I've got a question. Now, Studio Spring, start by telling us exactly where you are.
So we're on 129 McGill Road, Stepney. So pretty much directly opposite the Carl Shahadi dry cleaner, right near the Nelson and Nelson/Osmond Terrace McGill Road intersection.
I've got you.
Yeah.
Now, when I was a young man, obviously much younger than I am today, I actually did quite a lot of dance. And dance, for those of you who don't know, a lot like most major sports, it can have a big impact on joints and muscles, can really mess you around. And the only thing that saved me back in the day was actually doing Pilates, getting on the reformer, taking some classes, and it actually turned me from a bit of a physical wreck into something vaguely functional again. So Pilates, I think, can be wonderful, particularly for active people, but also for people who are having other struggles throughout their life. How did you get into it, and why do you think it's such a great thing?
Well, I started as a dancer. That's actually a big coincidence. There you go. So I was a dancer from about age 4. My mum was a dancer, and I think she didn't want me to get into the sport, but I begged her to as a little 4-year-old, very stubborn. I think just like knowing how the industry can be in terms of the mental health associated with the industry. But I went all the way through to about 18, and I did all my exams and competitions, and I never really wanted to take it any further than just for leisure and social reasons and fitness, because I don't know, I feel like I'm a bit of a realist, and I didn't really want to invest too much time into something I didn't see a big future for myself in, just knowing my body and knowing that it can be really specific with what they look for in someone's specific body and the shape and makeup of how you are as a person.
But Pilates drew you in.
In
that it captured your imagination as a future you saw for yourself.
I think there are a bit of similarities in terms of like the way you move your body and the muscles you kind of activate, and while the Pilates aspect doesn't have the same kind of, I guess, plyometric aspect that dancing does, I think for me, I got the fitness side that I kind of got from dance as a client of doing Pilates and partaking in classes, but then as a trainer, I got the showman aspect of being a performer per se as a trainer. Like I feel like that's where I kind of shine as a person, is trying to win these people over that in my class and make them laugh and make them feel something or smile or just kind of be a big part of their day. And I think that's what I really enjoyed as a dancer as well, as being on stage and kind of trying to draw people in with your charm.
So if I was to pop into Studio Spring and just wandering off the street, what would I expect?
Big, bright studio, lots of natural light, surprisingly private from the road, because we are on a main road, and there is a lot of car traffic and a lot of banking up of the intersection. So we did build a big partition wall to create some privacy, but very loud, outgoing trainers. All of our trainers are female at this stage, just by chance of the girls that I gravitate around. Loud music, a lot of disco music.
High energy.
Very high energy. Like it's a kind of an adaptation of the traditional Pilates method, which was kind of founded by Joseph Pilates many moons ago, but which was kind of designed as a rehab tool for those kind of in hospital beds and not able to exercise. He kind of attached all these pulleys and bits and bobs to their hospital beds. So the form that we kind of engage in at Studio Spring is more of a modern kind of, I guess, fitness approach to it, as opposed to like a rehab tool. But that's not to say we can't kind of adapt for anyone that walks in the door. Like I could probably have someone in an arm cast and still be doing a fully functional class with the rest of the group.
Now, that's something, and maybe, Owen, you could chime in here too, because my experience, very limited with bouldering, and also my experience with Pilates, Lauren, is that you become very aware of those smaller muscles that you're not necessarily knowing that you need to use, and you find weakness points that you don't know you have. I mean, thinking about the hands in bouldering in particular, but how do you pinpoint particular areas? And are there, I see a lot of training stuff around here. Oh, and are there particular techniques for building up certain muscles that either of you would promote? Putting them on the spot, people. High pressure answer.
I can jump in if you want. So yeah, as you can see, we've just got these hangboards up here. So we basically hang off our fingers each week to make sure that our fingers are nice and strong. So when you tell new people that, they're like, blows their minds because they're not sure what those things are, and they don't think, those edges can go down to 6 mil, so down to like sort of credit card sizes. So as you get more advanced, it can take up to 5 years to be able to do anything on those particular lines. So it takes a lot of consistency, a lot of repetitions, as well as like it's very easy to hurt your fingers as well because they're so small, so not a lot of blood flow into those areas. So high risk of injury, especially if you're a young child. So usually people or children don't usually touch those items until they're sort of 16, depending on how well they go. It doesn't say they can't do it down on the main wall either, but when you're training and you're putting the excess load on those small areas, there's room for, could be potential injuries. So like we have heaps of those, heaps of different brands, different edges down to pockets down to single finger edges. So you can hang off just 2 fingers, all different available sizes as well. So yeah, it takes a lot.
I'll be working my way up to that, I think, Owen. And with Pilates, is that something that is going to help engage some of these smaller muscles that people don't necessarily know are underperforming?
For sure. I feel like the main reason people probably come to a Pilates studio is maybe their physios mentioned, like associated with their back pain or coming in to strengthen their core. So I think there's a bigger range of ab exercises that you can do on the reformer compared to other kind of, I guess, group fitness gyms where you might not target as specifically to that area. And I think the glutes and the hips as well, like I think I'm a believer in everyone kind of having a bit of variety in their movement in their life and whatever they find enjoyment is in. But I think if you're going to the gym 5 days a week, you might be missing some of those kind of deeper, like stabilizing muscles through the hips, through the glutes, even just the wrists, kind of like Owen was talking about. A lot of the clients in Pilates will find their wrists are a big limiter in just body weighted exercises like planks and push-ups and things, because they may not be doing too much loading on their wrists day to day. I mean, we're sitting at a desk using phones and mouse and keypads all the time now. So just kind of getting back into that quadruped, like 4-point kneeling loading, body weight loading stuff, which probably sounds like I should be setting some clients here to strengthen their forearms and their wrists. They won't be complaining about a plank anymore if they come here for a couple of sessions. Yeah.
I love it. Now, Joe, I'm going to ask you because I actually, despite appearances, I don't mind working out and actually getting some physical exercise, but I do have a terrible sweet tooth, and I always have. And I'd like to ask a professional, seeing some of these fantastic treats arrayed before us today, how does Quincy's decide what the next thing's going to be? I mean, how do you work out your recipes and what's fun for you?
I think my wife's got an influence in that. She'll come up with the idea like, okay, I saw this on the TV or I saw this at the shops, and I think this combination would work well together. The most recent product we came up with was a strawberries and cream chocolate sugar-coated almond. So it was a sugared almond essentially, but inside it's got white chocolate. And she's on my back for a year or so before I actually got the motivation to do it, because as you can understand, something like that, you need to take time out to develop it. And so you've got to sort of stop production or, take time out of production to come up with a new idea. So yes, my wife's the one that influences me of what I should be doing.
The genius of the family.
Yes, well, she thinks so, yeah.
I think, guys, if you're smart, you'll be leaving your brochures at Quincy so that people know exactly what they can do to burn things off. Now, next questions, I think pretty much the same for everyone. At different stages, everyone around here has decided to establish a business right here in what is now Nord Payneham St. Peters. What was it that attracted you and your family all those years ago, Joe? I'll start with you.
Sure. So, Mum and Dad settled in the Nord Payneham St. Peters Council area. They wanted an industrial spot where they could manufacture their products, and Stepney, that Stepney Triangle was close to the city. It had light industry. And so that's the reason why we picked Henry Street, Stepney. That is a fairly tight little spot there. It's very hard to get into. But
easy to park, right?
But, well, some of the streets are a bit tight. But, yeah, so for us it was light industrial, close to the city, and that's why we chose Stepney.
And you've watched it transform around you, because that light industrial is now mixed use. People are living there, people are having their businesses, their practices there, and it's all just grown up around you.
You've got Norwood Green popping up just around the corner. That's going to be awesome. So our premises was an old house, so very much a residential property, the villa, the 4 bedrooms, and unfortunately we had to knock it down to make the warehouse space or the factory space that we've got now. So,
and it's just a coincidence that you're an easy walk to the Alma.
Well, we've got the Alma, we've got the Mater Magpie, we've got the Little Bang. Take your pick.
You're surrounded. And Lauren, what about you? What attracted you to McGill Road?
My partner, who's also my business partner, he actually found the space. But I grew up in the east side, like on Glenburn Road, just between McGill and the Parade. So I've been local to this area my whole life. Never moved house until just recently, but I'm only in Tranmere now. And I remember as a kid, like young teenager, walking up and back McGill Road, going into all the little interior design shops and furniture, and just always in awe of like they're very expensive, and not something I could afford as a 13-year-old, but always up and down the strip. And I always felt like a really nice bank of shops in that area, which we actually ended up in a space that I remember going to when it used to be a shop called Spaces and Places years and years ago. And then I also was instructing in another studio for 3 and a bit years, which is on the Parade, which has since closed, and we kind of opened, I guess, a month and a bit after they closed their doors. So I'd built up a network of clients that I grew to create, I guess, really strong relationships with. Like a lot of them are my close friends now, and I'd known them for 3 years. So it felt wrong kind of trying to root myself anywhere other than where I'd been living and working and playing for, over 20-something years.
I think that is just such a good point, because Nord is this wonderful juxtaposition of tradition and constant change, that there are these businesses, and Joe, you're one of them, who've been there for decades, that act as these little cornerstones that we have, but there's always something new popping up, evolving, And I mean, I grew up in this neighborhood. I went to school in this neighborhood. But now here I am with my business opposite the Nord Oval and looking at all this change and going up, still expecting to see Varis there, but seeing all of these wonderful businesses popping up all over the place. And of course, Owen, you're one of them. You're part of this constant revival that Nord Payneham St Peters experiences. How are you finding being here? Are you finding that the local community's supporting, getting involved, coming here? I mean, it's been pretty busy the whole time we've been here. Is that pretty constant?
Yeah, for sure. Like with any business, you go through your peaky times and then sometimes you don't, especially with COVID being one of those big pain in the bum things for everyone. So, it ebbs and flows sometimes, but at here, because we're quite central, we get a lot of school groups come here. So we get a lot, especially with PAC just around the corner. They come in quite regularly with their boarding staff and their students. So that helps. But yeah, overall, like with most schools in the area, that's like during the days that they come out and help out a lot as well. So it does get pretty busy, usually about 4 o'clock onwards when most people clock off work and they either ride here, especially on those electric scooters, which you can pick up anywhere these days. You see a lot of those parked out the front or out the back. So yeah, it's pretty busy some points.
So Henry Street, McGill Road, the parade, and right here on Grenfell, there's so much going on right here in Nord Payneham St Peters. Get involved, have a look around, check out what the local businesses are doing. You'll be amazed at just what opportunities are out there for you. So I guess I'll sign off by saying, Joe, Lauren, and Owen, thank you so much for your time, and get out there, everyone. Thanks.